people think and form their beliefs. An appropriate subject for a university lecturer with a doctorate in psychology. It was late one miserable afternoon in October when I arrived at Paddington, weary and agitated from a delayed train journey from Oxford. I promptly made my way to Senate House Library in Bloomsbury, North London, stepping out briskly against the windy weather that snagged at my spirits, squinting into the rain, and still clutching in my overcoat pocket the curious letter I had received on the preceding day from Mr. Wesley. "Dr. Caxton, your assistance with an urgent matter is required. Come at once." I'm not at all the sort of man who responds quickly to such vague last-minute requests. My many commitments to the undergraduates, marking essays, preparing and giving lectures, simply wouldn't allow the indulgence of such distractions, and the fact that this note had been hand-delivered to my home address made me all the more suspicious that someone was having a game with me. A disaffected student, perhaps, or a freshman put up to the joke by his friends. That was certainly the opinion of my wife, Julia. But then a familiar name within the letter made me think there was probably more to the mystery than a mere prank. And I was right. Turning onto the slippery cobbles of Mallet Street, I paused for some moments at the entrance to Senate House, admiring with quiet appreciation its notorious architectural character, an enormous tower of glittering Portland stone in the heart of London. It looked serene, dignified, though of course I regard the place somewhat differently now. Once inside, glad of the refuge from the raw afternoon, I hastily sought out Miss Christine Eastoe, head of Historic Collections, whom the letter had instructed me to ask for, and was instructed to wait by a young receptionist. I did so, wiping my spectacles clean and taking my place on a small bench at the end of a vast marble-floored corridor, alone. I was hardly surprised by the emptiness of the library. It was the end of term and most of the students would have left for the holidays. Nonetheless, just then I felt... what was it? Uneasy? Unsettled? And I was aware suddenly of an uncomfortable chill. "Robert Caxton?" The sharp voice made me turn to see a neat, precise-looking woman with a beehive of white hair. "You're late," she said impatiently, ignoring my proffered hand. "Now then, if you would care to follow me." I waited with Miss Christine Eastoe in uncomfortable silence at the door to the rickety old elevator which was to take me up. It was her name I had recognized in Wesley's note. Although I didn't care for her cold manner, I had dealt with her years earlier on a bespoke research project concerned with the religious revival of 1903, and she had impressed me by her diligent attention to detail. I wasn't sure if she recognized me now. I hoped she didn't. Eventually she said in a taut voice, "You know, there's an old story that in July 1929, the principal of the University of London, Sir Edwin Deller, fell to his death in this lift shaft." "What an awful tale," I remarked. "How did he fall?" "When they were constructing the Senate House Tower, apparently. A skip fell from the top and struck him. Some of the librarians here think that's why it's so cold on the 8th floor." "Do you believe the story?" "Not a word. John does, of course, but then..." The corners of her mouth twitched. "He'd believe anything." "Where is Mr. Wesley?" "You'll find him up there," she said coldly, looking up. "But please, I'll thank you not to indulge his fantasies, Dr. Caxton. He's due to retire soon, and that suits the rest of us well enough. The 8th floor, that odd collection." She shook her head disapprovingly. "It fascinates him. Fascinates a lot of people. The lunatics." "Why? What's up there?" Her flinty eyes darted a critical and surprised glance that stirred my discomfort. "You don't know?" "To be quite honest with you, I'm not even sure why I'm here." "Upstairs is the Harry Price Magical Library," she said beneath her breath, as if the mere utterance of the phrase was a crime. "Harry Price was a maverick," she said sharply, "who devoted his life to the exposure of fraud and the proving of truth in the field of psychical research, of all things. In 1948, after his death,